Hey guys, Mr. Yisley here. So we're on to lesson number 9 in chapter 1, all about using real numbers. We've kind of moved into some classifications of numbers in the last lesson. In this one, we're going to talk about the number line specifically. And so we've talked a little bit about this in class, but not a whole lot. So we really want to touch base on this and make sure we've got a good understanding of the number line. So a couple things I want to point out about the number line here on your paper is we've got 0 here in the middle that we can see. All right, and then all the numbers moving to the right are always getting bigger or greater. That's going to hold true no matter what part of the number line you're on. If I were over here and started at -20, everything moving to the right is always getting bigger or greater, however you want to say it. So that's an important concept because it will never get smaller moving to the right. Now, if you look at 0 and you notice the numbers to the left are all getting smaller. So moving to the left on a number line, it's always going to get smaller or lesser. The numbers are going to get that way. And again, it doesn't matter where you are on the number line. I could be over here on the right side and start at 20, and I could move left, and anything moving that way is getting lesser, right? Or smaller. So just really important idea to remember about the number line, that it's always going to get bigger moving to the right and always getting smaller moving to the left. So anytime you have to number a number line or label it or whatever it is that you want to say about it, all right, you need to make sure that your numbers are getting bigger moving to the right and smaller moving to the left. All right, well, let's take a look at 3 examples. So what we're working on in lesson number 9 is graphing these numbers that they give us on a number line. So what I like to do is I like to look at the numbers first, kind of get an idea of what numbers I need to have on my number line, and then go from there. So on example A, I see -2, 0, 4, 6. All right, so I need to make sure that all those numbers fall on my number line somewhere. So I'm going to start in the middle of my number line, and I'm going to say, all right, this is 0 right there. And I'm going to count by ones, and so I'm going to say the next number is 1, the next is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which means everything moving this way is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, so on and so forth. Really, to be honest, you just need to have enough of it labeled so we can tell what you're counting by. So you can obviously tell I'm counting by ones, and every single one of the numbers that you're going to have is easily going to be labeled. So if we're only going to 6 on the right side, I might only go to 6 on the left side as well, or -6 as I would say. So you don't necessarily need the 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, I can tell what you're counting by. All right, it's obvious there. So then our next step here is we're going to take these numbers and we're going to actually graph them on the number line. All right, so I'm going to look at -2. I'm going to find it on the number line, and boom, I'm going to draw my circle right there. And then I'm just going to put a little thing above it just to remind myself that that was -2. Next number that I need to graph is 0. So I'm going to go to where 0 is, and I'm going to draw a filled in circle there at 0. And again, I'm just going to label it real quick to remind myself that this is 0. And the reason we do that is sometimes we're going to get numbers that don't always fall perfectly on a dash. So when they don't, it's very helpful to label and make sure that you've got it where you're supposed to. Well, the next number in line is 4, so I'm going to come over here to 4, and I'm going to draw my circle and fill it in. And then again, I'm just going to label it real quick that this is 4. And then last one was 6, so I'm going to draw my circle, fill it in, and then again label that is 6. All right. Now, obviously, when we look at this, we see that the 6 is above the 6, all of that, so it lines up perfectly. Again, this is really just more helpful when we have numbers that don't fall perfectly on a dashed number line. All right, well, let's take a look at example B, and let's try that one out as well. So the numbers that we have to graph are -1, 5, -3, and then 6. So I need numbers that go as far as 6 on the right and as far as -3 on the left, but I'm going to go ahead and continue all the way to -6 on the left just to make it even on both sides. So again, I'm going to start with a number in the middle, which is 0, and I'm going to label that right there. Then I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to go the other direction, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. All right? And so I've got that labeled, so now I'm going to go in and I'm going to draw my dots and label those dots. So first number is -1, so I'm going to come to 0, left 1, so I'm at -1, draw my filled in circle, and label it -1. Then my next number in this list was 5, so I'm going to come to 0, go 5 to the right, and there I draw my circle right there. Again, I'm going to label it with 5. My next number in the list is -3, so I'm going to go to 0, left 3, and that's -3 right there. Again, I'm going to label it to make it obvious, which it is. And then last number on my list is 6, so again at 0, right 6, draw my filled in circle, and label it with 6. All right, well, hopefully you're getting a hang on it at this point, so I'd encourage you to try example C on your own, then check your answers with mine. So example C, I've got numbers of 2.5, -1.5, 0, and -2. So I've got some choices here. I could label by whole numbers, right, like I've been doing, counting by ones. I also noticed that I got a bunch of halves here, or a couple of halves at least, so I could label by halves if I wanted to as well. Any of that is fine, but whatever you do, it just needs to be consistent all throughout your number line that you've labeled. All right, so I'm going to label by ones. I'm choosing to label by ones. So I'm going to start at 0 right here, and then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and my biggest number was 2.5, so I think that's good enough moving to the right. And I'm going to do the same on the left, -1, -2, -3, -4. And my biggest number on the left was -2, so that should be good as well. So then I'm going to go in and I'm going to label these dots. Well, my first number is 2.5. Well, I don't have any 0.5s labeled on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 0, I'm going to go 2 spots, and then I'm going to go halfway to 3, and I'm going to draw my circle, which is in the middle of 2 and 3. And so I'm going to label that with 2.5, that's 2.5. So I'm not quite on a dash there, and so again, that label comes in really handy in this situation. I'm going to do the same for -1.5. I'm going to go 1 to the left, and then halfway to -2, and draw my dot, fill it in with, and so that's -1.5. I'm going to label it. Then my next number is 0, so that's right on a dash, so I'm going to go ahead and go to 0 and start there, and then label it. And then my last one is -2, so now I've got a dot directly next to my -1.5, and it's on -2, and I'm going to label it. So sometimes they might have been better there to count by halves, so I had nice spacing, but it's not a necessity. I was still able to label my line. I showed what the dots were, where they fell on the line, and I made it obvious by labeling them there at the top. All right, well, if you have any additional questions about how to plot points on a number line, please let me know, but otherwise you should have what you need to continue on in the chapter.